Thank you very much, Eda, and thank you very much to everybody here. So I'm very happy to be here, and it's my first time in Tirana, and I also would like to thank all the organizer for making this adventure even better than I was expecting. And so all the organizer, Eda, and all the members of the center, Diana, the director, and all my other friends that I've met during these few days. So I would like to introduce you a very new Arbëresh situation and context that I found in North America, and more precisely in Montreal. It will be a descriptive presentation with less data that I will do normally because I'm an ethnographer, so I work a lot with description and observation that I made during my fieldworks. But due to COVID-19, as you all know, I couldn't really travel to Canada for the last 2 years. So my last time in Montreal, it was in 2019 when I discovered actually this Arbëresh community. So is it working? So I would like to start with a presentation, then we will do a little bit of context and the why I discovered this community within the Italian community of Montreal. And then we will go through some results due to an interview that I made with a woman, Teresa, that I met during my research there. And then I would like to discuss with you about some conclusions. So first of all, I need to explain what I was going to do in Montreal. Actually, I started my researches in Montreal in 2011 when I started my PhD on the Portuguese community there, because I wanted to study the way the Portuguese language was spoken actually within the Portuguese community of Montreal. Many years later, I studied the Italian community there. And it's a different diaspora and a very complex migration, because I found there a lot of different languages that were spoken still within the Montreal, the Italian community in Montreal, but that they were behind, hidden within the Italian flag, and this idea that all the Italians in Montreal, they would speak Italian, but actually that was not the case. So before going to the Arbëresh things, I would like to say that this postdoctoral research that I started then in 2018 on the Italian community, I focus on two main axes. So on one side, it's on language practices, and so all the phenomena and consequences of language contact, and to see the way they speak really Italian or also other languages, and all the code mixing and code switching within the community. And on the other side, the second axe of my research is on representations about how language is important as a marker of identity within the group. So who is Italian within the group, or who is an Italo-Montrealese, if we want to say like that. So now, fasten your seatbelt and get ready to travel again to another part. We have been to different places since this conference started, and now we are going to Montreal. Why Montreal? I decided to study both the Portuguese and the Italian community there because of this very peculiar situation of double majority with two dominant languages cohabitating there, even though actually, Montreal is in a francophone province of Canada. So, and I also consider Montreal as a good and interesting context, because it's the roundabout between what we call the interculturalism in Quebec and the multiculturalism of Canada. Two examples are all the linguistic policies and laws that Quebec has implemented for the defense of the French language. And so we can see, for example, Bill 101, that was really important during my study because it was done in 1977. And both communities, the Portuguese and the Italian, we could see that the heritage language and the community language became very important at that time, because the majority of the people that migrated before, they were integrated into the Anglophone society. And when they migrated after, because of Bill 101, and they were obliged to schooling their kids into the Francophone system, so they were much more Francophone. So, and at that point, it's very important to see that the community language became really the lingua franca from the descendants of these, the same country, different generation after within the city of Montreal. On the other side, we can see this Programme d'études des langues d'origine, so PELO, that is a program on heritage languages that is promoted in Quebec, and normally where actually it was very good to create what they call today the community languages, normally that they teach languages within the communities in Montreal, mainly on Saturdays. So in this postdoctoral research, I studied the Italian community, what is called today La Petite Italie, but we will see that also the name has changed during time because of this change between English and French. It's a community that started the migration at the end of the 19th century, the time where we really call it as a community. And we can say that these migration waves, they were up to the 70s, quite very important. The origin of the people there, they are mainly from Northeast Italy, the center and the south. If you want to know in terms of the provinces of Italy, where the people come from the consulate sources, I have the ranking. I can say Campobasso, Agrigento, Caserta, Cosenza, Catanzaro, Reggio Calabria, Bari, and Avellino are the provinces in order. In terms of number, I count around 145,000 of Italian origins due to Statistics Canada. But as I said to our friend Justina yesterday, I'm not really comfortable with numbers. So I had to combine a lot of sources from the consulate and also from the Statistics Canada to really see who is Italian there. Because when they told me, okay, 145, it's a lot of people, but actually I have to combine these statistics in terms of ethnicity, and also the one about language practices, that they are very different, because if they ask which language you speak and they don't speak really Italian, they will not really, be taking part of this selection of these numbers. And what is important for me of this study is the creation of the first Italian community, as called as Little Italy, that it was the common name in a lot of a lot of other places in North America, so like Toronto, Boston, New York, and many other places in New England. That at the beginning, it was these 3 spots that you can see in downtown Montreal, really close to the mountain. It was the places where the first Italians, they actually built up these little Italies. But after 1910, they moved up north to the mainland, to the actually nowadays called Little Italy, but they changed the name to La Petite Italie because the French, the French taking importance into Quebec, that you will see after in this other map. So is the first spot down, and then the other spots up, they are the other very important places where Italians are actually present nowadays in Montreal. And it was mainly after the 50s and the 70s where a lot of Italians came from Italy to Montreal, and they move what they say through the east, even if geographically is more northeast than really east. As an ethnographer, I was living there for a long time, and I had to live within the community and participate to the life of the community. So what I would like to tell you a little bit is just the presence of 2 main cultural centers. One, Casa d'Italia, was actually built in 36, and is the one, the picture down left is in a very peculiar also architecture that is related to the Italy of the 30s. So that is not really what maybe an Italian is expecting today with this very fascio style, but is the cultural center of the Italian community down there in La Petite Italie. The other one on the top is Centro Leonardo da Vinci, is the modern one, was built in 2002 and is located in Saint Léonard. Saint Léonard is the biggest Italian places in Montreal on the northeast part. Then another important thing is two things: the education, that within the Italian community, it was related to two big associations, so Picai and Cesda, and also the religion, so the religious life. And we can see one of the main church, that is Madonna della Difesa, that was created in 1911 in the so-called La Petite Italie. About methodology, so with my ethnographic approach, I distributed a lot of questionnaires, I've done a lot of interviews and observation, and my fieldwork even started before actually this postdoc, because it started when I studied at the Portuguese community. My idea at the beginning was to compare with the Italian community. My new interest now, when I found this Arbëresh island, it was on language practice in Arbëresh there. Also the contact within, in the community with both Italian, different other dialects of Italy, and as well English or French. So you can see that the repertoires can be very varied and very different. And also, again, representation, so all the discourses with identity and on actually practices, so epilinguistic discourse. So that's why since 2 years ago, I started a new project at the Université Paul Valéry Montpellier 3 with my colleagues Jean-Léo Léonard and Ksenia Georgievich-Leonard. I'll show you a little bit one of my questionnaires. So this is an example of the questionnaire that I'll show, but that I normally distributed to the people to really get some information before the selection about who is going to be interviewed on the Italian practice within the community. But what happened there is that, so one day when I was doing my research, it was in 2019, after the Mass, I met Teresa, and I can say I fell in love with her. This old lady, she opened me a world to the Arbëresh community reality of Montreal that I didn't know. I mean, I knew Arbëresh, the language, and the situation in Italy, but I was very far from believing of community, as she said, in Montreal. So at first, so it was a lady that I met there, and she told me that she was interested to be interviewed for my studies. It was like, okay, so let's have a talk. And then she started saying that she would practice un dialetto albanese, so a dialect. So this was the first key that opened my eyes to this question. And actually, she started telling me a lot of information about this reality there that I would like to know more, but because of COVID, as you know, I couldn't really do. So a lot of family, she said, after World War II, from 1952, from Montecilfone, they went to Montreal. I know that a lot of family, numerose famiglie, we have to take in consideration the reality of Montecilfone. So it's not really a lot in terms of what maybe some of the people that like numbers, they would like to count, okay? And what is interesting also about one of the things that I was telling you before about the integration of the community within Montreal is what you say after. La maggioranza dei nostri figli hanno frequentato le scuole inglesi. So a lot of these family, they were more integrated into the Anglophone system. So we can say that they arrived before the implementation of Bill 101. But also that at the same time, they follow classes of Italians. And so we can see one of the problematic of my study, of my postdoctoral research there, that is seeing Italian as the community language of many of this family that they didn't even have a practice of Italian actually back then when they arrived to Montreal. For many of them, Italian was the language of the community, of another integration within the integration into the Montreal society. And then the last one, nelle nostre case, soprattutto con I nonni, si parlava il dialetto albanese, l'inglese, l'italiano. So this is very important when I consider my study in terms of what is the language practice today. And the use of this past tense, I mean, is imperfecto, si parlava, we can already understand the status maybe of the language. I say maybe because it's what I would like to do now. If I can go to Canada next summer, it will be to you know, observe a little bit more what's going on within this family there. Okay. Molte famiglie cambiarono quartiere, incontrarci diventava difficile. So here we are talking about the difficulties for the future of this community. First of all, as I said, after the 70s, a lot of people, they moved in different places in Montreal. So they were displaced and they couldn't maybe meet as often as they could. And so their practice also for Arbëresh could be maybe less in terms of time. But one important thing about this group is that from the 80s, they understood that there was a problem in terms of practices of their language. And so in 1988, they found the first Arbëresh Association of Montreal, sorry. That is the Associazione Paesana di Montecilfonesi. Nel contesto attuale si continua la tradizione nonostante il numero dei membri diminuisca. So this is the reality of the thing that Teresa is saying. The problem within the association is that the number of people that they are attending, they are less and less. And so that's also another important information about considering the way the language also can survive within the associative life. If it's not spoken at home, at least in the association life. And the problem of young people that they do not really speak Arbëresh, as she said, the case of her family, where they speak more English, French, and anche Italiano. This anche seems to be there, like even Italian more than Arbëresh. So yeah, here we have this reality that I was telling you about, the thing that she didn't really spoke Arbëresh to her kids because she was married to a non-Arbëresh speaker. That's also another question that I would like to see there. Sono fiera delle mie origini, ho fatto parte delle associazioni molisane because she was member of a lot of associations from Molise, but what it's important to see here, and it's something that I recognized also within other speakers of Forlan or other languages of Italy, is that they became ambassador of Italianness more than of their own language, if we can say like that. So oh, sorry. Yeah, but it's okay. So what I would like to do next, I would like to go to Montreal again, if it's possible. And I would like to really see the status of the community today, the reality of this ethno-linguistic enclave, also after COVID-19, because as she told me, and this was on remote because we couldn't really see each other for 2 years, is that the associative life is almost dead because a lot of them, they are older people and they're afraid to meet nowadays. And so I guess the practice of Arbëresh within this very peculiar island in Montreal will be diminished by time. And I would like to see the stage of Italian and Arbëresh in terms of practices and also their role in terms of marker of identity. The last thing I would like to say, so this is my conclusion, is that I was member of the edition of this book that with my friends and colleagues, so Jean-Léo Leonard and Ksenia Georgievich Leonard, we did with this project Albesa, and actually I have friends, so Silvia and Lucia, that are here and they participated to this publication. So for us, it was a very important moment to prepare this book. and I would like to offer one copy to the center I mean, it's our present for the center, for the library of the center. Thank you very much.